Today we're going to discuss the modern women's rights movement from Rosie the Riveter during World War II to the 1950s Housewife and into the 1960s. Rosie the Riveter was a character that was created during World War II that has several distinct features. You can notice that there's a feminine quality to her in that she has makeup on and her hair is done. But there's also a masculine side to her where it shows her physical strength and her ability to enter the workforce and do labor. These posters were used to encourage women to enter wartime production, and millions of women did enter factories and contributed to the wartime effort. In contrast, we see the 1950s housewife as depicted in advertising as being helpless and subservient. So in this advertising, you can see that they're saying that a woman isn't strong enough to open a ketchup bottle. And in these advertisements, you can see that the ideal woman's role was in the home, raising children. This was during the baby boom. And also in the kitchen. So women once they were married, were often relegated to homemaking rather than a career. Betty Friedan was a housewife herself, and she was dissatisfied with being a housewife. She wrote a book called The Feminine Mystique. It was published in 1963, and in it, Friedan explored the dissatisfaction women face with homemaking and the lack of choices. She interviewed college classmates who had gotten degrees and then gotten married and entered motherhood and homemaking and abandoned any kind of dream of having a career outside the home. So in this video, you're going to see a little bit more about Betty Friedan and the 1950s housewife going into the 1960s, obviously.
A year ago, this woman heaved a brick through the rose-colored picture window of the American suburban bungalow and invited the resident housewife to take a clear look at the outside world. This book has sold more than 50,000 copies in the hardcover edition, and 700,000 have been published in paperback.
In 1963, a writer named Betty Friedan published The Feminine Mystique, her scathing expose of the happy homemaker myth.
The feminine mystique has made us feel it's unfeminine to use our rights, to really want equality, to want to take part in the decisions of the world in politics. Career woman almost became a dirty word.
Betty Friedan had given up the chance for an academic career to become a homemaker and part-time journalist in the 1950s. Feeling there was something missing in her own life, she wondered if other women felt the same way.
She decided to interview her old classmates at Smith prior to a reunion. In doing that, she surfaced a deep sense of malaise among women who had very fine educations and then felt that they really didn't have choices, that there were no avenues for their talents, and were caught in some profound way.
A woman today has been made to feel freakish and alone and guilty if simply she wants to be more than her husband's wife, her children's mother, if she really wants to use her abilities in society. And
everybody read The Feminine Mystique. And of course, we all had mothers who suffered from the problem that has no name. They didn't know what was wrong. Why were they not satisfied by the 3 children and the perfect house?
Up until that time, I was thinking that I was just different. A lot of my girlfriends were getting married straight out of college. And I was thinking, I don't want to do that at all. But reading that book let me know that there were masses of women who felt differently. And that, it was stunning.
But to the women content with their traditional roles, the feminine mystique felt like a slap in the face.
I first read The Feminine Mystique In the winter of 1964, I felt personally judged. All these things that women at home can do, which are extremely worthwhile to society, were dismissed as dilettantism and unworthy of any respect.
However it was received, Betty Friedan's book was certainly timely, as women's rights was beginning to surface as a national issue.
As you can see, there are both sides to the issue. There were many women who were very content to be at home and raising children, taking care of the home, and who felt like they were really contributing and doing important work. Friedan's book is not meant to necessarily minimize that, but to talk about the lack of choices that women face should they desire to have a career or use one of their talents other than homemaking. So your assignment is going to be to choose from one of the following. Write a narrative from the perspective of a woman who went from Rosie to a 1950s housewife, or to write a letter to a friend explaining how the feminine mystique has changed your life as a housewife in the 1950s and into the 60s. As you're writing, you should think about what your daily life is like, and also what goals and dreams do you have outside of homemaking, and what opportunities do you have to achieve those goals and realize those dreams. And bring your assignment to class the next day, and we will move forward from where we go from the feminine mystique on, and hopefully you'll get to see some of the changes that occurred in the 1960s and 70s. Thanks.